I want to share some. I know a good many of you relatives. I'm Frank LaMere. I'm from the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska. And I heard about this thing several weeks ago when it first happened. Probably within 12 hours we'd heard about it, but there's a lot of things going on with us right now. We've been able to do some things, and we're going to, we've been able to shut down White Clay, Nebraska. And we're doing the best we can to try to keep that closed. There's a lot of work that's going on there. One of our relatives mistreated about the same time over there in a hospital and had overdose at the penitentiary. Family treated very badly at Bryan Memorial Hospital, and we did some things to try to take care of that at the same time. And even in Sioux City, we have had some of our relatives mistreated in the Woodbury County Jail. All of this happening at the same time. And I have literally, for the last 2 weeks, have not had opportunity to even take an hour to deal with these very important things, but we have a chance to do that now. And I simply want to share with you, first and foremost, that I applaud what you're doing. And I want to share with you that sometimes when you come over to things like this, and I knew I was going to come over there, you never know whether there's going to be 2 people, 10 people, 100 people. But I always say when we gather, when we take care of things like this, just the right amount of people come over there. And you're all here today, and I'm encouraged by that. And I would share with you that there is no coincidence. I want you to remember that, all of you, whoever you are, there's no coincidence. All of you are to be here at this place at this time, talking about these issues with our families, our extended families, and our Kiowa and Lakota relatives. I'm understanding that our Kiowa and Lakota relatives took care of Zachary Bearheels in Oklahoma. And I hope that tonight all of you who understand this social media, you send a message to them that we are here and will do the best we can to make sure that this young man is not ignored, not forgotten. So all of you convey that message. There's a lot of you. When you can get 5 people in this town to come and gather and coalesce, that's a lot. And there's a lot more of you. Probably some gathered, some already left. But I would share that with you. This is extremely important what you are doing. I want to share, there's a lot of young people, I want to share with you, sadly, this is not the first time we gather like this in Nebraska. And I had a talk with the mayor of Lincoln on another matter a few days ago, and I went over there when the police department killed Renteria. The 29 years old young Hispanic man, they grabbed him and they choked him to death, and they said that they did that because he would not obey their commands. It was only later that we understand that this young Renteria could not understand English. But that was justification for them. They did that to him years ago, and I went over there and I took time with our Hispanic relatives. All of you remind the Hispanic community of that. Because if they do that to him, they'll do that to us. If they do that to us, they'll do that to others in this community. That's why it's important to come together like this. Also, you know, I think when we talked about Lincoln, I remember Seth Whiteface over there. And I remember having to go into that community like this community. And Seth Whiteface, young Oglala relative, he was shot by the Omaha Police Department. His only crime was he went to the street and he looked in a prominent restaurant. He looked in. And I understand he was drinking. He looked in and he bothered them. So they call the proprietors, who call somebody, and a few minutes later Seth Whiteface dead on the street. And I remember that because I remember having to meet with his 10-year-old, his 8-year-old, his 6-year-old, and his 2-year-old. And I know how they felt, and they're older now. But we cannot forget Renteria. We cannot forget Whiteface. We cannot forget Dennis Cross. We cannot forget Kimberly Fraser in Sioux City. And it can go on and on. It seems like once a year I go gather with families and gather with them and do the best I can to console them, and then do the best we can to try to change something. And that's what's going to have to be done with this issue in Omaha, Nebraska. I would encourage all of you, young men, you women, I want you to do something if you would. And whenever I say something to you and ask you to do something, those are things I would do. I will never ask you to do something that I would not do. I have learned something as I got older, and for decades now, we've been dealing with these kind of issues all over. I want to share with you first and foremost, and all of you remember this, and if somebody asked you, say, he said that he came over here, he said that nothing changes unless somebody's made to feel uncomfortable. They have already pat you on the head. They've already pat Frank on the head. Oh, we feel so badly. And we'll talk about this sometime when I get back from vacation. I'm understanding a mayor with the police chief, a meeting with the mayor, a meeting with the police chief, and I got the word, well, they can't really meet, but they're on vacation. Good God, is that what they think of you? Think about that. Is that what you think of us? I gotta take my vacation. Maybe sometime I'll come and we can talk about these things. That makes me angry. And it makes me angry not even as a Native American, it makes me angry as a human being. And you think like that. And I'm telling you, nothing changes unless somebody's made to feel uncomfortable. And nothing changes unless each and every one of you make yourselves uncomfortable. That's how this is going to stop. A number of years ago, I can't remember, but another part of town, something like this happened at one of these places. They killed a young Ponca boy. And I remember the black community, the native community, we even came from Sioux City, week after week after week, and we put pressure on them. And I even forget all of these things. There have been so many of them. But we caused them to close down. And when you coalesce, when you make them feel uncomfortable, they begin to listen to you. And that's what can happen here. And I would share something else with you by way of encouragement. Don't start something unless you're going to see it through. And when you work for change, sometimes it takes a long time. White Clay is shut down tonight. It took us 20 years. They mistreat our relatives. They murder them there. They mistreat the women, the children. It took us 20 years. But we did that. You know how we did that? We have no power. We have no money. We have no influence. We have no title. But what we have is we have resolve, and we never went away. They expect you to go away. They'll let you come over here, gather every week. Oh yeah, give them permit, give them whatever they need. Even give them some police protection. They'll do that because as long as they're comfortable and you're over here, they don't care. But when you move down to City Hall, like we must do in the very near future, they're going to get a little bit more uncomfortable. And then when we question them very publicly and issue those press releases, they're going to get more and more uncomfortable. And then if they get so uncomfortable, what they're going to do is they're going to listen to you. Because she don't go away. Because those young men over there, they don't go away. Our elders don't go away. And the only way they always prevail is we go away. And there's so much I think that everybody has to learn right now. So much that I have to learn. I want to stop and want to sort these things up. But what I'm understanding is that there were 4 involved with that issue. And I don't know, and I will be very careful, I don't know. But my sense tells me if you're there and you're involved, then you too should be held to a standard. Not just 2 of you, but all of you. And that's what I think that we would probably push for. And I want justice to be served. I believe And somebody here, you're going to go home and you can talk about it, and somebody goes, say, well, be real careful of what he said. He shouldn't say that. But they shot and killed Kimberly Fraser 20 years ago in Sioux City. 800 of us that time went over there to the police station. Somebody said it's like we owned the street, and we did. We went over that time because they shot and killed Kimberly Fraser. A lot of our relatives came to help us. Vernon Belcourt, God rest his soul, came over there and he said something many years ago that made me uneasy. As a younger man, it made me uneasy. But I accepted it because I had respect for him. A lot of young people, native, and a lot of non-native supporters kind of shied away from something he said. Because, well, I don't know if we should say that. It might make people look differently at us. And Vernon Belcourt said that time, and he was talking about the Sioux City Police Department. He said the Sioux City Police Department on the west side of Sioux City determined that way they would be judge, jury, and executioner. And I remember him saying that. He said this police department decided they would be judge, jury, and executioner. And that troubled a lot of people, and I thought about that, and it took me 20 years to understand he was telling the truth. And this is even, this situation is even more dire, even more serious than that one was. Somebody determined the fate of this young Kiowa and Lakota man, and they determined that we'll be able to brutalize him. We'll be able to do these things that ultimately took his life. I do not know about these things, but when they taser you 12 times, what they did to this young Lakota Kiowa man is they electrocuted him. That's hard to say, but you need to say it because that's truth. You executed him. Who gave you, is this what you think of us that you would do that? But somebody has to say that. I read the paper, I listen to the news, everybody kind of dances around this issue, but that's what they did. And I think you all, as native people, as non-native people, we've got to really demand justice. Our non-native relatives, our Hispanic, black, white relatives need to all come and coalesce here. Where are they at? And I want you to go and ask where they at. Because we have always been the miner's canary. If they do this to this young man, they're going to do it to your son and your nephew. That's the way it has been, and it's going to continue to be that way unless we change things. I don't know where it goes. You know, I don't know. My thoughts are many. And if we, maybe perhaps we'll have a chance to talk to this mayor. And as I'm standing here, I'm going to tell her right now, you went on vacation. Good God, we mourn. You went on vacation. Is that what you think of us? Because I believe that's what she thinks of us. And I am going to make her uncomfortable. And I will make the chief uncomfortable. Because nothing is going to change unless they're made uncomfortable. I don't know how many, over the many years, I don't know how many times we've gathered like this. And we always mourn. We always mourn. They don't. You do. And we get tired of that. And I think what we do is we need to coalesce. We need to bring your numbers together. You need to put tremendous pressure on them. You need to go down to the City Hall. We need to go down to the federal building. We need to call for a federal investigation of this whole city in the way that they protect and serve. Mm-hmm. And somebody needs to say that, and I'm going to say this to you. On those cards they have protect and serve. You know who needed the most protection 10 or 12 days ago in this city? Is Zachary Bearheel. In this whole town. He needed to be served. He needed to be protected. And what did we do to him? We need to ask those questions. Take that off the side of those cars if you're not going to protect and serve. This police department, this police chief has to be held accountable too. We've got to put the pressure on them. I'm going to share that all with you tonight. And I'm going to encourage you as best we can. And I'm going to tell you that even as we gather tonight, I don't know who among you, but even as we gather tonight, the police department knows who you are and knows who's over there. And some of you probably even taking notes, but that's fine. Take those notes and deliver them downtown and say, I don't think they're going away. Because I don't think that we are. And I think we need to hang with it. We need to call on the many different groups, progressive groups. You know, I see some folks from the Democratic Party here. I'm pleased with that. I see some progressive folks, Nebraskans for Peace. They need to come over here. You need to call all these groups together. Black Men United, Willie Hamilton needs to be here. Somebody tell him that Frank said you should be over there. All of our Hispanic relatives in town, down in South Omaha, they need to say, Frank asked, where are you at? We helped Renteria when they did that to your relative. Where are you at? And that's the way we're going to put this together. I'm going to go back to the city in the next day or so, and I'm going to tell them what I saw over here. And I'm even going to encourage our relatives, our Omahas, our Winnebagos, our Santees, our Poncas over there, and to tell them the relatives in Omaha are standing up, you should go over and help them. And they will. Because they've been through the same thing. They're not afraid. What are they going to do to us? You go down and downtown, what are they going to do to us? They've done everything they can do. There is a young Winnebago girl, about 5 or 6 years ago, 14 years old, weighed 90 pounds. And a girl picked on her at the roller rink. So that Winnebago girl retaliated. Police came over, all of them 8th grade, tasered her 5 times. 5 times. And we heard about that, and I went to that city council meeting, which you should all go to. I went to that city council meeting. I think you'll remember that meeting. They cannot forget, because we got after them. And they listened, and they were in trouble, and they were angry. And this is how things work. About maybe 3 or 4 months later, I found myself in Washington, D.C. at some meeting. And I was there, and I looked in the lobby, and there were members of the Sioux City Police Department there for some meeting. And I talked with them, joking, they said, what, you keeping an eye on me? And they said, no. And they told me something. They said that, Frank, those things you do, they have impact even if you don't think they do. Because after that happened, every member of our 110-man and woman force, every member had to be tased to understand what you're doing. They said that had never happened before. It was on the books a long time ago, but we don't do that. And so what they did is they had to taser each other. And they also told me that man who did that no longer on the police force. They said he was no longer on the police force. So those things you do here can make impact. And just know that even if they don't respond to you, you know, they'll meet and they'll do some things. But I would encourage you to do the work that you need to be done. Find out how many times those taser guns have been used, and let's find out who they were used on. I don't even have to have a clue about that. I'm going to take a wild guess. And I'm going to say most of the people are kind of like this way, that they use them on. Somebody needs to ask that question. I bet they don't taser many over that way. I bet they taser them that way, and over here. And somebody needs to ask that simple question. Tell me who we use that taser on. I think that will tell you a lot. And all those things, if you're going to go fight them, you have to know what you're talking about. Let's get your numbers together. Get ready to go to city council. Why would you not go to the city council? As soon as that happened in our city, I was over there. Well, we'll see if we can fit you in the agenda. No, you'll fit me in the agenda. However you fit me in, you'll fit me in. Because somebody's dead. You're going to put me at the top, and I want to hear from everybody. You know, and I know what they're going to do. Let's study this. Study what? And I think that we have got to call on the county attorney. We've got to call on the U.S. attorney to find out what the hell is going on in Omaha, Nebraska. You know, because this is, I read about things here every year or two. Somebody loses their life. But they don't have people who come together, but you do, and the Native community does. I wanted to share those things with you, and I wanted to encourage you in your work. And I want all these different groups represented here to step up and to assist, and we'll do the best we can. And maybe we'll meet with that mayor, maybe we'll meet with that police chief, but well, listen, you live here in Omaha. You know, we have to hear what the folks are saying here. And I think if they don't listen to you, you're going to have to step up and find a way that they will. But I applaud all of you for doing it. You talk about each other here. Talk about each other. My God, I'm impressed. Sometimes we go, something happens.